a good question to do research on for your ASVAB.
That's something worth
Okay.
looking into for sure.
I wonder what are the stipulations now, though. I wonder, is it the same,
Hmm.
if you're not married and you have a child and you're still, underage, a
Right.
minor. I wonder, how does that work?
Welcome to the ASVAB Domination Podcast, where we help you crush the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, also known as the ASVAB, in order to achieve your dreams of serving in the United States Armed Forces. I'm your host, Mickey Gamonal, and I'm excited to share my years of experience and expertise in ASVAB preparation with you. In each episode, we'll dive deep into test material, strategies for success, and insights from military veterans and experts. Whether you're a high school student considering military service or a seasoned professional seeking to advance your career, this podcast is your ultimate guide to mastering the ASVAB and achieving your goals. Let's dominate the ASVAB together.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the ASVAB Domination Show. Today, I am speaking with Coyle from Visit Vegas Places. I am absolutely excited to have him here. He was my inspiration for starting my entire podcast. So every show you've heard from me really started with the first show that I did with him way back over a year ago now. We were talking about ASVAB preparation like we always like to do. And it's back when I was based out of Las Vegas, and Coyle really kind of put me on the map. I got a lot more clients because people had heard about ASVAB preparation through a Vegas podcast of all things. And so it's just a really serendipitous world. I bumped into Coyle at a business networking event that neither of us were, like, it wasn't designed for either of us, but we were both there. And we networked and it worked out really good. So yeah, without any further ado, Coyle from Visit Vegas Places.
Hey, I appreciate you, Mike. Mickey, thank you for having me. You're such an inspirational guy, man. Not only are you a professional business owner, which you handle yourself and carry yourself excellent, but also, well, I can remember when you started the podcast after you came off my show, and you did everything right, and you were consistent, which is the key to all this is consistency. And you covered all your bases. And I want to definitely give you your roses on this podcast for successfully launching, not only launching, but just the consistency of dropping episodes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Coyle. And well, I'm just trying to keep up with you, man. I mean, you've now, how many seasons are you at for Visit Vegas Places at this point?
Yes, sixth season and 123 business owners interviewed.
Wow. Outstanding, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is so many people that you've helped, so many people that you've helped to really just kind of publicize their business. And it's a new platform. Podcasting has been around for probably over 10 years, but
Right.
not on a small business scale. It's
Right.
completely different when you're interviewing these guys. And you've always had so much fun with it. That's probably my favorite thing about the way that you run your podcast is you got these games at the end, and like throughout you're really talking about people's passion, and you know how to like turn it on, right? Where their fire in their eyes just comes alive because they're excited to talk about what they came to talk about. So how do you do that? Like what's your secret, man?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Well, it all started, it is a passion of mine, but it all started from Google reviews, actually. So we started just visiting, small business owners in our local area. And this was pre-pandemic, right before pandemic happened. We would go into these, small business, and then I'll do videos on it. Not videos, but pictures. Videos wasn't really in now. So it was pictures I was taking of the food we were eating. And I would write these over 200 character reviews because I was using Google Maps as my first platform. Because keep in mind, before I even started the business with Visit Vegas Places or even a podcast, Visit Vegas Places only existed on Google Maps, which right now you can look us up, and we're currently over 38 million views for Google Maps, which is another benefit for business owners that I interview, is our engagement on Google Maps. So with Google Maps, we would go around these establishments, and I guess it started to get known to where we will order, and whoever was working, they would call the owner in. The owner would come in and wait. And I would be like, my wife will always be like, they're calling the owner. And I'm like, man, I just want a natural experience. But it was cool because the owners would come, numerous of them. and we'll actually talk with my family and I. Because keep in mind, it's a small business, and it's my family and I. We're the ones who operate and work everything with the help of them. Shouts out to my family. But we will talk to these business owners and get the story of how they started, some of their pros and cons of running a business in Las Vegas, some of their new items, some of their plans in the next 5 years. And I'm leaving and I'm only like posting pictures on Google Maps. And I'm thinking like, dang, baby, we like, it's almost like they invited me into their living room, told me their story and their dreams. So it's like I gotta be able to share this with the world and not just only with me. So therefore, it's the birth of the podcast, where I thought of the podcast was like, okay, you know what? I need to come with this podcast where I can actually have a full 360, not only have pictures of the business owner and the establishment with the nice little 200 character review, but I also can interview them and get a real in-depth story where I can, have that, everywhere where all the audience can listen to. And then henceforth comes in the video where that start to goes trending now with pandemic being in and then with the pandemic videos. And I automatically knew how to create content from my background of being on a record label. I was a signed artist, so and this was an independent record label. So we did our own videos, we did in-house everything. I learned a lot there. And those skills led over to what I do now as far as content creation and digital creating for all the platforms for my own business itself, which is even another benefit for the business owner I interview. So not only if a business owner comes on my podcast, not only are they going to just be on every podcast that streams, but you're also going to have content created. I'm going to come down, I'm going to create content with you, get some inside stories, almost like the news itself before social media. And then not only that, if you're a brick and mortar, not even brick and mortar, you have online pop-up shops, food trucks that are able to get on Google Maps now. Any business could get on Google Maps, which is a plus because if you're on Google Maps, therefore I can partake in pictures of your business and then also post to share with that big audience of 38 million that goes and sees on, Google Maps. And therefore I can prolong this and I can do this forever and ever. So that's the benefit of coming on Visit Vegas Places. And the reason why I built it for business owners, to highlight business owners. It's not more of I want to be highlighted, it's the business owners. That's why it's Visit Vegas Places with Coyle. Because in the future, it could be Visit Vegas Places with my son or Visit Vegas Places with Mickey. It could
Right.
be anyone. I don't want the spotlight to be on the person who is the mouthpiece or the one that is sending that message. I want the content of the message to be the focus, and that's the business owner.
Nice. And you're good at it, right? Like it's something after 150, there's no doubt. But even in the beginning, you had a method of getting people to talk about their businesses. And apparently, I mean, I'm just finding this out, but it came from before your podcast time. You were already talking to people and getting their story, getting their background and stuff like that. So why is it that you have that like selfless mentality? Like why is it that you would want, everybody else to get the credit, right? Like you're doing a lot of marketing for almost hundreds of businesses across the Las Vegas Valley and around the world, as you say in your intro. Like how is it that you're so focused on their message? Like do you ever feel like it should be more focused on your message?
That that makes a lot of sense to bring it up. 'Cause, now that you speak, we're transitioning to where, even my wife and, I'm looking at my audience, I'm like, I need to be a little more transparent. So how can I be more transparent? Because you're right. Even though I say like, I don't want to focus on me, I want to focus on the business owner. I got to think my audience might want me to focus on me, like you just said. Like, cool, Coyle, that's good. You're showing us all this food. That's good. You're highlighting all these business owners. But I want to know about you. What do you do every day? How do you put all this stuff together? So as we speak, I'm thinking of things that I can shed light on as far as being more transparent with my audience to let them know why I'm so dedicated to it, why I'm so disciplined, why I do things the way I do. Certain, things that they don't know why and where that comes from. And I need to be a little more transparent with that, but make sure it marries and integrates to where you won't really realize the difference. It blends right in.
Yeah. And you got a knack for it, man, because I think the message of anybody that you're interviewing is always going to shine through. I've never once heard you, and I've listened to a lot of your episodes, a lot of the Vegas Places episodes. You're never cutting people off. You're always giving them that space to really share. And even sometimes they don't know what to do with it. And so you're
Right.
digging that space and you're giving that, like, you're more than just holding space. You're like setting up the perfect conditions
Right.
for them to just go off.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think no matter what your other messages are, I think that that's always going to be at the core, is just giving these people their opportunity to talk about their places. So that's
That's
great.
correct. Correct, man. And on that note, anyone who's listening, no matter what you're doing, take Mickey, for example. Mickey, I interviewed him with the ASVAB. We met at a networking event. And one thing I do encourage you guys, if you're listening, if you're an entrepreneur or either starting a startup or a business, go to networking mixers into your community. Check out your chamber of commerce, your local chamber of commerce. Network with other business like-minded people where you can share best practices. And you could probably, learn things where you won't have to make mistakes where if you would have tried to do it on your own. So with that being said, with Mickey, the ASVAB, he was wondering like, how are you going to interview me? And I was up for the challenge. Like, I love stuff like this. I'm like, dude, let's bring it on because it brings out the creativity in me. And let it known to be, you're again to mention, he's one of my top 5 top ranked episodes out of 123, keeping that in mind. So out of 123, his episode on my show is ranked in the top 5. But on not only that, he was wondering how could he turn his business into a podcast, and he figured it out through research. So it can be done. It really can be done. You figured it out, and you're providing an essential message to people who need it. To really what you're providing, they have to pay for that. If they don't know how to research properly, they will end up paying for it, which they will probably get the same information you provide for them right there free if they tune into you.
100%. Yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing how much value you can put out there. And it's funny when you're talking about networking and all these business mentorship type stuff, when you say go to these things so that you don't make the same mistakes. I really feel like it's so you can make better mistakes. Like, I've made so much better mistakes because of the time. Like, my podcast still isn't perfect. It wasn't perfect in the beginning. It may never be perfect, but the mistakes are so much higher quality, you know?
Man, I love it. Now, and not only that, though, I love these talks, Mickey. So not only that, what you did is you've already put yourself in a whole nother field. So literally, you made yourself universal. So now you have a podcast of ASVAB, but because you're in the game of podcasting, and keep in mind it's new that you mentioned, you are officially a podcaster. So if that makes any sense, we can sit here and talk an hour about podcasting and have valid and nuggets to share with other people that are trying to podcast or are interested in podcasting. So keep that in mind as you go along your journey, that you're building something else. That's another skill that you have.
100%. Well, and then to piggyback on what you said previously, the content, right? The content creation, I've had made a couple TikTok videos and a couple Instagram posts and stuff like that, but building content on a podcast, it is a much better way to showcase that value. And I learned a lot of that from you because you're showing the value of all sorts of businesses all around the city and outside. So it's just
Right.
such a great place to really, if you have something to say, it's a great place to say it. It's really a great place to say it.
Correct. It's lovely. And I choose what I choose as far as helping business owners because I'll never run out. So if it was solely about me, visit Coyle at visit, in Vegas places or with Coyle and visit Vegas, if it was about me, I can easily run out of stuff or I can get to a point to where, I don't want to share no more about me. But I need to help others so it can be nonstop because there's a unlimited of help of people who need help that are starting businesses, especially here in Las Vegas. There are people specifically moving out here to start a business because this is small business friendly. This town is small business friendly, and that is one thing that I love about this state and this city of Las Vegas and keeps me here. Now, one thing with that being said, when you're in podcasting and you're providing the help, it's unlimited because long as there's people that needing that help, you're always going to be in business. You're always going to be needed. And it doesn't give that rewarding effect right away, I should say. That's what I'm
Mhm.
trying to get at. It takes heart and courage, guys like you who really have passion to know you got to duke out a timeline that's not going to be rewarding, but you do see the end vision. And if somebody just learns something, that's rewarding for me.
Yeah. Same. No, the same, absolute same. I mean, as a math teacher, and I think this is true of anybody who studied education, you want to help students. And it's not just teachers, right? Everybody has mentorship too, but I got my degree 4 years. I thought I was going to teach math. And there is a benefit to seeing light bulbs come on. Like I really
Right.
enjoy it when somebody realizes, this is what an average means. And this is why
Right.
that's
Right.
relevant to my life. Like, if I can look at the average of my expenses, I can determine how much I'll be spending over the next 30 years. And that shifts everything, right?
Correct.
Once you see those thresholds, everything starts changing. And so the same's true, in business as well. Staying consistent, you don't see the changes right away. It takes a lot of time.
It does. It really
But
does.
you've been there. I mean, you with 153 episodes, it's just so much consistency that you've got to be seeing a lot of the results at this point. It's got to be kind of a good time. It's got to be a lot easier than it was at the start. Anyway.
That reminds me of a quote. What they says is what was it says? Ah, man, I'm trying to think of the quote right now. It said something if you work every day to not well no 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 if what is it said if you do something and you can afford to not work at all, it gets you to a point where you don't have to afford to not work at all. That means you cannot afford to not work at all, if that makes sense. You get what I
Mm,
mean? So,
mhm.
right. So if you do something and now you can afford to not work at all, that means you cannot afford the cost to not work at all. That means you
Mhm.
have to keep feeding the beast.
Mhm.
So the more you put yourself on a level of making yourself an expert or a certain thing, you have to be willing to take on the role to keep evolving, to keep learning, to keep researching, to keep teaching. So that is one thing because everybody measures success in a different, cup. So a lot of people measure it in different ways as far as monetization, as far as downloads, as far as reach, audience. I like to measure mine with community. So the more community I build is beautiful. Like it's lovely when I see business owners that get together on the strength of them both was on my show. And that's the reason why they got together. That's that's my reward.
Yeah. And that's huge. I mean, and like you said, they're making higher quality mistakes because they're having deeper conversations about things that are relevant to them. And that's hard. There really is a premium on that. Like you cannot find people just walking down the street who will talk about how hard it is to start a podcast. Like you
Right.
got to seek
Right.
those people out. So I think that's
Right.
great. But yeah, anyway, I do want to bring it back to the ASVAB a little bit. I want to bring it back to kind of your story. I've been on your show a couple times. Both times we talked about how you joined the military. So I'm going to kind of set the stage for everybody, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. So if I'm off base, let me know. But from what I understand, you were in ROTC. You were very motivated throughout all of your high school career, and then you may have gone to school afterwards. But one way or another, you had a girlfriend that said, "Hey, you shouldn't be going to the military. You got to sign some pretty heavy paperwork," and it made you shift. It made you shift, but you held on to some of the military
Right.
discipline. Is
Yes,
that correct?
definitely. Now, you are correct, actually. So, a little transparent story. And both of my grandfathers served in the military on my mother and my father's side, and it stopped there at my grandfather's. Again, on both sides, and it's nobody else went to the service after my grandfather's. It's crazy. And both of them work for the city on both of their cities of their states after serving in the military. So it's definitely in our blood. But after my grandfather's, everyone played football. They got into athletics instead
Uh,
of, going to the service. So it was a thing for them to go to college for scholarships and play sports. But beforehand, the service was the option for my grandfathers. But in my case, I graduated in 96. So in 96, I spent 4 years in ROTC, which changed my life, which I want to give a shout out to their family. Rest in peace, Colonel Harrison, Sergeant Alms, and also Sergeant Glaze. Those three men right there changed my life in high school, put it like 360. And it was because I was one of those in ROTC that also was on the fork road of being with the bad crowd or not, going from a dysfunctional family of my parents being separated, after me being 15 and now they're separated. That's kind of like shift to realize like, okay, now I don't have both of my parents. I'm 15, teenager when I need both of them. And they kind of came through as far as shaping me on how I should think and carry myself as a man. With all the journeys of going through the parades and just the talks, it was more of the talks. And they influenced me to really get into the military, and it wasn't really about getting to the military as like this is your option to go through college and all this. It was more of the skill set in the way they shaped and formed to tell me like basically you will be needed. So in order for you to be needed properly, this is a route you want to take so you can get the proper education, to be able to be utilized in the correct way to have some kind of effect. And that was the take I got from them, which just to this day I honored them. Now, keep in mind, out of high school in the 96, the draft ended. I can recall buddies of mine getting drafted, 94, 95, getting
Whoa.
drafted.
Wow.
And
Which war was it? Where were they going?
so within this time in 95, what was going on? This was with Bush. So Bush was in office, was just ending that war. So the
Senior,
draft,
yeah.
yeah, so draft just ended 96. 95 to 96, I think the draft was ended. Because I can remember used to be all scared, like, do you think you'll get drafted or not? Like, no, I don't know. And I remember some of the guys used to be like, well, I'm the only son. That was the thing. Because if you were the only son, of course, you didn't get drafted or whatnot. So
Ah.
that draft ended, but I was so big on going to the Air Force. So I really wanted to go to the Air Force. Everybody was like, yeah, you should go to the Air Force. You should do this. It's like, cool. Keep in mind, my dad, he's an engineer. So he's an engineer on aircrafts. So he was real stoked about like, yeah, you should go to the Air Force. So keep in mind, I was a teenage father. So I had my son in the 12th grade, 17 going on 18. So at this moment, still a minor, and I'm ready to sign up. I'm in the 12th grade, have my son. I'm like, you know what? Let me sign up and get everything going. So at that moment in 96, it was some kind of form that it was like a release statement. And I didn't know this until it was time to sign up. Everything was good. And I remember they said, all we need you to do is the mother of your child to sign this release form. Once you get this release form, you're good to go. I had no idea what the release form was. I was like, cool, that's just like probably something, like I don't know. Like I don't even know why she's involved in this. Right. So I kid you not, I didn't even read it or anything because I didn't take it that serious, because I'm just thinking like, why would they connect her with this? But it's probably, because of my son is okay, good.
Mhm.
So, and he didn't break it down or anything to me, none of that. So I took her the form. Thank God for her. She read it real closely, did her thing. I can never forget. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. I'm telling my buddies, like, dude, I'm going to the Air Force. I'm set. So she calls me and she tells me that, listen, I'm not about to sign this paper. So I'm like, why aren't you about to sign this paper? I'm like, please tell me why aren't you about to sign this paper? She was like, well, I can't sign this paper. And I'm like, why aren't you going to sign it? She was like, because it's basically telling me you're going to die. And if you're going to die, then you'll have to agree with it. And I have to live on with it. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, well, I'm not going to die. She's like, no, that's basically, what this paper is saying. So she ended up didn't sign it. She basically said, you could probably do something better than this, and I ended up not going on the strength of her not signing the paper. And I remember calling him and trying to negotiate with the recruiter. I remember asking him, was like, hey, do I really need to get that paper signed by her? Like, we're not married, And he was like, that's the issue because you're not married. You need to be married if you have a child, which is understandable because back in them days, that wasn't a proper representation either of, you being in it. So it's either, which I understand now, I could totally understand that. There's things way beyond that and behind that, which I don't see. I don't know how it is now for teenage fathers who go in that aren't married. I'm sure there's some kind of stipulation, but
Right.
that was my stipulation, what I went through, but I don't know how it is now.
Wow. No, I mean, I can only imagine getting a form in 12th grade and being like, okay, cool, I'll have so and so sign it, no worries, like, you wouldn't think about it. And so it's crazy just how much that changes things, go
So,
figure.
hey, just thinking about it, have you had any teenage fathers that had to sign up or anything yet?
I've had a couple teenage
Right.
fathers, but I think they were like mid-20s. But
See,
yeah, I
yeah.
don't
See,
know.
that's a good question to do research on for your ASVAB.
That's something worth
Okay.
looking into for sure.
I wonder what are the stipulations now, though. I wonder, is it the same,
Hmm.
if you're not married and you have a child and you're still, underage, a
Right.
minor. I wonder how does that work?
That's right. That's right. Because you were
Yeah.
17. That's the
Correct.
thing.
Correct. I was, yeah. Yep. I was just, about to turn 18 and it was time to sign up and I missed it.
Yeah.
Yep.
What'd you end up doing? What did she like? Was it her choice
Dude,
for
listen. All
work or?
right. This is my life story. Yes, I was a troubled kid, dude. I was a horrible dad growing up. Like I couldn't get it right. I was a teenage, my
Right, 17. That's a tough.
yeah,
I have
dude.
so much more respect for my parents now. My baby is like 2 months old, almost 2 months old, and I cannot imagine. My parents were early 20s. I cannot imagine it. So,
So you see, but I give shouts out to my father, my cousin, my grandmother, my auntie Becky, rest in peace, my brother and auntie. They did had a lot to do with contributing with helping, raise my son, which it took a village to raise him, in my case being a teenage father. But after that, I was discouraged, to be honest with you. I didn't really know because after 4 years of ROTC, I played football too. So I was playing football. So I kind of stopped, like it kind of like messed me up really, because I was thinking like not only can I pursue my dreams, but keep in mind I already thought I was messed up because we were having a baby. So you got to keep in mind our surroundings in '96 there wasn't support for that. They looked down on that. So we have everybody in our ear telling us, "Oh, you're messed up. You need to get out of school. You need to get a job. You're not going to be able to do this." So there wasn't no positive talk to us. So we're looking at each other at 17 in fear, like, damn, what do we do? We messed up, like, how are we going to do this? And while at the same time, still trying to go about life. So with playing football, even playing football, man, I missed so much school that my high school wanted to look out for me. And my grades were so messed up. And I just like went haywire that they cared for me so much. They was going to let me ride on a track scholarship just to get me on the football team. And this is
wow.
to UCLA, right? So I was like, you know what? And after that, they knew I just checked out, and I did. So I got into a community college, like wasted 2 years of my dad's money in community college till I got myself right. Unfortunately, I had to get a job. I worked at the airport like most of my young years, at the airport. And then, man, I didn't go back to school, man, till 25. Graduated 27 for computer business systems. So, like, it's never too late, And then look at me now in my 40s, just doing all this and running everything. So, it's like never, like kind of like your story, how you went late. Like I went
Mhm.
late, but I did a different route, and there was times to where I thought I wasn't gonna make it. So like for someone to know me from that past to now and see me sit up here and talk to business owners, set up and try to market and present them professionally, that's a full 360. And I didn't only do that also by myself, but I also have to find Jesus Christ as my personal savior. So when I found Jesus Christ as my personal savior, that turned things around also.
Yeah, 100%. Wow. No, and it makes sense, when you're at that age going out of school, that's not like today. Today you can do a Google search of
Right.
positive words, just positive words, for whatever life situation you're going through.
Dude.
But back then, it's a
It
whole
was
different
like,
realm.
dude, we didn't have no kind of positive like advice. Like seriously, like I can think back, like we can have a convo talk about like, you remember? Like we can literally go get traumatized just thinking about that time. Like, cause we couldn't see now. You get what I mean? We didn't
Hmm.
see that. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think a lot of it comes from that time, right? Like the struggle breeds strength, right? Like when
Right.
during my time in Peace Corps, we used to talk about jihad, and jihad is considered this like, a negative thing. Jihad is considered like jihadist, right? But
Mm-hmm.
jihad literally means to struggle. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really all life is, right? Buddha talks about this too. Life is suffering, right? And so going through your own personal jihads, going through your own personal struggles to find whatever is going to grant you that fulfillment, that's key, right? If you're not going through that struggle, if you're not stressing yourself out, I think it's Seneca who says, the most unhappy person is the person who never gets to prove themselves.
Right.
Because that's true,
Right.
right?
Right. That is
Without
true.
those struggles, who are you? You know, you
That's
really
true.
have nothing left.
That's
If
true.
you don't have the
That
struggle,
is
you got
true.
nothing.
Yep. And you have to apply what you learned because how my mindset is like I have to apply and keep going. That's why I have to always evolve. Because if everything would have worked out, who knows how the Air Force or any services would have need me. Even like what I do now, I could have contributed my skills and talent to help them get to wherever they need to get. Likewise with either any school or any person that I'm with, that's how I like to feel like anyone that's in my life or on my show, I need to elevate them. So it feels like if you were on this show, you're elevated because that's how I feel about it. So in anything I do, that's how I feel that it needs to be done in order to elevate what I'm doing. That's why my current goal right now is to get, into UNLV. So that's what I'm working on. I'm gonna take that journey at my age. I'm gonna enroll in UNLV, take what I need to do to get to the next level, and I'm gonna tape that journey because I want to share to others that it's possible you can do it.
Yeah, and you're gonna do great freaking things. You're gonna do great things. But you can't discount the time that you were working at the airport too. I'm sure you were still helping people. I'm sure
Oh
the
yeah,
influence of those three people during your ROTC time, like that kind of stuff shines through everywhere. Even when you try not to let it shine through, it's still shining through because you have this different mentality of what you're going to accomplish. And
definitely.
I'm sure at UNLV, you're gonna kill it. You're gonna completely crush it because you're there not on self. Your focus isn't on yourself, it's on your purpose. And
Right.
whenever that's the case, the sky's the limit because there are forces that set you up for success when you're focused externally,
That's
more
right.
so than focused internally,
That's
always.
right. That's right. That's right.
Heck yeah. No, man, I think that's great. I think it's amazing that that's your next step. I think you're going to do great things. And I do think you would have been a major asset to the Air Force, but there's so much of your life that wouldn't have turned out the way that it did. And it's just
True.
great that you're doing what you're doing now. This
True.
Visit Vegas Places is awesome stuff. Doing your own
Right.
thing, that's
Right.
awesome
Right.
stuff.
Right. Like hopefully later in the future or whatnot, once I get on that level, I could probably get like a government contract and be able to contribute something, to the service to kind of like close that within myself. Like, cool, I did something, within for them.
Yeah. No, it'll come. It'll come along as long as that's where your head's at. Like you've been doing, how long have you been working the Visit Vegas Places stuff?
It would be 3 years.
3 years. Yeah, to go from Google Maps to 150 plus episodes, like that's incredible.
Correct. Yeah.
In
Yeah.
3 years?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I mean, congratulations. Congratulations to you. Hats off. That is awesome. Okay, cool. Well, so I guess outside of that, do you got any of your family going for military aspirations, or are they all going football nowadays, or what's the word there?
Well, there's no more kids, so all of them are in the business now. I think I changed that. My first son, which I have in high school, he's graduated from Northern Arizona. He was a lumberjack, but he played football all his years there also, but he didn't go pro. He graduated from criminal justice actually. So he has his own security business.
Oh,
So
wow.
and then my wife and I, we've been married 21 years, and my son, we have two boys and a girl together. Our son graduated. He's currently at UNLV. He was going to follow his older brother with the criminal justice, but he's business major. So he's into business. Keep in mind, again, I teach him everything we do here. It's all family owned and operated, and I teach them everything that I do to make sure they understand the business and my vision.
Nice. Dang. So yeah, you're already having so much effect. I used to think that you wanted to go make a change in the world, but since having my daughter, and my daughter's not that old yet, but it's clear, making that change in your family is just so much more
Important.
impactful.
Yeah, important. Hey, always remember this. The family you create is more important than the family you come from. Remember that.
100%. I
All
love
right.
that. No, that's great. Well, cool, man. That's awesome that you guys are doing that. So where can people find you if like are you looking for specifically for any sort of business owner, or is it just open invite in Vegas or outside or where?
Hey, if you're in Vegas, that's a plus. If you're outside Vegas, you're still winning. I do have a segment called Vegas Ventures Off, and then I do interview business owners outside of Vegas, even outside the country. I'm trying to cover all 50 states. So if you're out the state, get in touch with me. So far, I've done 20 states, and then I've been to 11 countries so far. No, I'm sorry, that's too many. 6. So I have 11 mark at the end of this year. So 6 countries so far. So if you're out of the state, I'm up, for the opportunity to create with you. If you're in the states or local in Vegas, that's a plus because I can also meet with you and create content, not only have you on the show, but also create content with you. So that'll be a good thing. And you could go to the website, visitvegasplaces.com, and that's visitvegasplaces.com. And you can actually schedule a call with me if you are interested. And if you're just interested in just learning about the podcast and listen, we're on every podcast platform streaming, whether if it's Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, and that's under Visit Vegas Places with Coyle.
Perfect. All right, Coyle. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you for sharing your story. And I know that it inspires a lot of people out there to, whether they go into the military or go out of the military, your story is inspirational because you're driving your own boat. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate you, man. I thank you for having me, and thank you for all you do. And I see that content you're creating over there, man. You're getting better and better each time. It's getting very interesting.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's a privilege, man. Thank you so much. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Remember to be kind to yourself and treat yourself as a learner. Are you considering a career in the military but feeling overwhelmed by the ASVAB exam? Look no further than GamonalTutors.com for the best ASVAB prep courses. Our courses are designed by experienced instructors to help you master the best sections of the ASVAB exam, including mathematics, English, and general science. We use proven teaching methods and provide extensive practice materials to ensure that you are fully prepared on test day. With GamonalTutors.com, you'll have access to comprehensive study guides, personalized tutoring sessions, and online practice exams. Our courses are available on demand, so you can learn at your own pace and on your own schedule. Don't let the ASVAB exam hold you back from achieving your career goals. Sign up for GamonalTutors.com ASVAB prep courses today and take the first step towards a successful military career.